Hi guys, it's Aaliyah. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing my 37-week bump date. I'm right around the corner. I'm really ready for this baby to come out, and I'm hoping that he comes soon, but not too soon, obviously. So to continue on from last week, this week I had my biopsy procedure done. It was pretty scary, to be honest. The preparation was a lot more nerve-wracking than the actual procedure itself. So I'm going to kind of talk through my experience through it. So essentially, I walked in and they undressed me from the waist up. They gave me a robe and I went into the radiology section of my doctor's office, and they laid me down on the bed and they prepared me for the procedure. They rubbed some iodine on the area. They marked the area where they would place in the needle. And then the doctor came in and spoke to me a little bit about any potential risks, which was very minimal. They said the only risk that could occur, a lactal fistula, I believe, and they said that was incredibly rare, and that it should have no impediment on breastfeeding or any other daily activities or anything like that. And he also told me, which I thought was kind of funny, that it was possible I could go into labor. Nobody told me that beforehand until I was already laying down on the exam table, like already prepped and ready to go, like just about to start the procedure. And then they decided to tell me this information, so I was a little taken aback. But they said that essentially anything that could, cause me stress or elevate my heart rate could essentially cause my body to go into labor. So after they explained that, I decided, obviously I was just going to go ahead with it. I was already laying down naked on the table, ready to go. So they prepped me, and just as they finished, they showed me a metal clip they would be placing in my breast, and it was extremely tiny, and it shaped like the ribbon for breast cancer awareness. So they placed that in me through a sort of like a needle. It was like a hole puncher, essentially, is what the procedure was. So they placed the clip inside of the mass, just in case that if there's anything wrong, a surgeon or somebody could find that and use it as a marker so they know where the mass is on any future x-rays or mammograms that I would be getting in the future. And then essentially they stuck a needle in me, and they told me it would hurt, but I actually felt no pain whatsoever. I'm pretty sure they did put a numbing agent on my breast, but they told me I would feel a lot of pressure and I would still feel burning and pain, and I didn't feel anything, so I was pretty blessed about that. And then that was it. That was the entire procedure. The whole procedure itself probably took like 5 minutes, to be honest. And then afterwards, they put some steri strips on the wound site. The only thing that was kind of alarming is that I was bleeding a lot, but they said because I am pregnant and it is my breast, that it is such a vascular area that it's going to cause a lot of bleeding. Also, they normally when people go into biopsies, they don't like them to be on any blood thinners or take any vitamins because vitamin E can be a blood thinner. However, since I'm pregnant, I can't stop my prenatal vitamins, so I was still taking that, and of course it has vitamin E, so they think that caused me to bleed even more than the average person who undergoes a biopsy. So they did have to hold pressure for about like 10 to 20 minutes after the procedure was finished, and then they bandaged me up. And then they asked me to ice it on and off every 20 minutes for about 6 hours that day. And they asked me to take it easy and refrain from any strenuous activity. And I couldn't lift my arm over my head or do really any kind of crazy movements with my right arm. So essentially, like, I needed to play it very low key with that arm. I couldn't be doing anything crazy. They told me writing and cooking and stuff like that was fine, but putting on the coat, I would need help, or I would have to be very, very gentle, or any kind of, brushing my hair, they didn't want me to do. So that went on for about 3 or 4 days. I also had to make sure I was wearing a tight supportive bra to bed as well for 24 hours straight. And because of the extra bleeding that I experienced, they did take an ACE bandage and wrap it around me for the extra added pressure to control the bleeding and make sure that the blood would clot correctly. And that's essentially what they wanted to happen, was for the blood to clot. So other than that, this week I've really just been feeling a lot of sharp pains in my uterus, and it's not really so much contractions, just very, very sharp, like jabbing pains, like someone stabs me really fast. As I've mentioned before, I felt the Braxton Hicks contractions throughout my pregnancy in the 3rd trimester, so I kind of know what they feel like, and this is a very different kind of pain. It just feels like someone is like jabbing me with a knife, is the best way I can describe it. And I'm not really sure what it is. I was kind of wondering if maybe it was like the dilation or the effacement process happening in my uterus, because when I went to the doctor, they told me that I was soft, which I assume is meaning that I was a little bit effaced. And I haven't really been feeling the Braxton Hicks as much as I have, but when I do feel them, they have been way more incredibly intense and, you know, almost like real labor pains, like very close together. I experienced it one day this week where they were very close together and very sharp and painful, and we really did think that I was going into labor, but it hasn't been like past weeks where I have felt the Braxton Hicks every single day, but they weren't as strong as these ones were this past week. Other than that, we did take a LaMaze class this week, and in the LaMaze we learned a lot of great things about having a birth plan and kind of, sitting down and figuring out the kind of birth that Garrett and I want to have for our baby, and kind of seeing it more as experience where we can be a part of instead of just going through the motions and letting everything happen, creating a valuable and beautiful experience for the both of us that we would want for our child. So, and through this class and through the education we were able to have, Garrett and I decided we do want to make a birth plan. And before, I wasn't even sure I wanted a birth plan, but this class has convinced me that certain things are really important for me. So I'm kind of going to discuss, but essentially, just to give you guys a quick summary of kind of things we want, is I have decided that I would like to try having a natural labor as long as everything goes according to plan and there's not any medical problems where I would need to be induced or have a C-section. But that is the goal that we're setting for ourselves. So hopefully I can stick to that plan. But I've never been through this experience before, so I don't want to beat myself up too much if I do opt for some pain relievers, but I'm gonna try my best, and I really want this to be the best experience possible for me and my baby. Some other exciting things this week is that I've begun designing the nursery. We just received our crib, and the baby is gonna be sleeping in the room with us. We only have a 1-bedroom apartment right now. We haven't gone crazy with anything. I just wanna make it really cute and fun for him so he can have his own little area. I've begun to put clothes away in his crib. I'll show you guys the crib and the nursery in another video. At the doctor's this week, my blood pressure went down, which was good because I talked about being a little bit worried about preeclampsia in the last video, just because my blood pressure did jump to I think it was 135/70 or something around that. And they said anything above 140, they would probably mark me having preeclampsia, and they would want me to be on bed rest and things like that. But when I went this week, it was, I think it was 120/60 or something around that range. So it was good, and I only gained 1 pound this past visit, as opposed to 7 pounds in my last visit. So I'm not really sure what that 7-pound gain was. But I only gained 1 pound this past visit, so I was pretty happy and fortunate about that. Other than that, another exciting thing was that we got our maternity photos done, and I was really worried we weren't going to be able to get them done just because it was so last minute. But we did get them done. We got them done at a botanical garden, and the photos came out really great. So the background is kind of very drab and gray, but I think Garrett and I really stand out, especially since I'm wearing this really bright red dress. I'm going to go ahead at the end of this video and show you guys some of our best photos from the maternity shoot. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys those photos, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching. Bye.